Yay. Moo, shall we talk to Daddy? I can hear the music. Two are watching now. Yeah. Yep. Hello, my lovelies. How are you tonight? I hope you're all well. Just sitting here playing a little June's Journey. But with my eyesight, I'm not that good at it. Tonight's going to be a little different. What we're going to talk about, I don't get political, but this kind of goes along with some politics, but we're talking about the legal side, okay? Hey, Sarah, how are you? Good to see you. Okay, well, we could take a couple of seconds and see if some other people are going to join us. I hope so. I'm doing good, Sarah. How are you doing? I know you said you had a good day at work. I think JD was a guest on, I forgot what podcast, and I don't know if he's done yet. I mean, I know he likes to get done about this time so he can go get his protein in. You know how JD loves his protein, so we got to let the man have it. Oh, yeah, Angry Cops. I think that was it. I was going to check in with them, but you know me. I was running behind, but I got here early. Doc, you were surprised, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Hey, there's the moo in the background. Hey, moo moo. Okay, you subbed to Angry Cops. You didn't get a notification. I haven't. I was gonna sub and I forgot, so I will do that after tonight.
So I wanted to test this.
Yeah.
My brother microphone. Am I coming in now, or on this feed?
Yeah, I can hear you, but
okay.
There's a little bit of an echo. Yes. We're doing some.
That might be a problem.
Yeah, Krista, we're live. Yeah. Krista's sending me the notification notes. Yep, that's Doc you hear, Sarah. Sarah's asking if Doc's here. Yep, he is. Yeah, he's my IT guy. He has to keep an eye on all the IT stuff because me and IT stuff, no. I usually break it. He's always telling me I have to learn to do things on my own, and then he has to clean my computer up because I've downloaded something I shouldn't that has some virus. So, you know. Well, I'm not sure where everybody is, but hey, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, tonight we're going to talk about the legality of what we see going on. Because we're seeing people getting detained. Hello, Krista. Good to see you too, sweetheart. And they're getting deported to another country. So that's kind of a little nerve-wracking. Because we're not sure, is this legal? Is it not? What's happening? And first, I'm going to start off by telling you a little story. Okay, so just kick back with me tonight, relax. And we're going to start with this story. Starts out, it's evening. It's been a long day. This gentleman is out there and he's putting out his resume everywhere, because he had lost his job. He picked up a pizza for the family on his way home. He's up in the Chicago area. And so as he's going home, all of a sudden, he has a van stops next to him, and these guys jump out. And when they do, they jump out and they grab him, they put him in handcuffs, and then they put him in the van and take off. And they drive him around for about an hour. His name's Julio Norego. I think he's 54 years old. He was born in Chicago, so he is a U.S. citizen. But they don't talk to him. They don't ask him any questions. They just drive him around for an hour, and then they take him to one of the ICE detainment place. Okay? Hey, fella, good to see you here, darling. So they take him to the detainment center. He's handcuffed, and they decide they had taken his wallet and his phone, anything he had. I wonder if they ate the pizza. They don't say that. But anyway, hey, pizza sounded good. What can I say? So according, next, they lock him up in the detainment center. And now that he's locked up, they still aren't asking him any questions. They're just, so he's there for several hours, handcuffed. They never show him a warrant. There's no warrant. So then all of a sudden, after about 10 hours, you guys, this man is sitting there, okay? They review the contents of his wallet and find out he's a U.S. citizen. Oops. So they end up letting him go. So the next story I'm going to tell you, this one is about a gentleman, and his name is, let's see. Let me get to the right one. Jose Octavio Ortega Gonzalez. Now, he's lived in the United States for more than 20 years. And in Kansas for more than 15. He has U.S. citizen. He is a U.S. citizen. Has children that are U.S. citizens, I should say. So he was arrested while driving to work. Okay, and this was in February. The ICE officials approached the car, asked him and a colleague who was the passenger Hey, therapist, good to see you too. And so they ask him if in in the passenger, you know, to get out, and they ask him if he had a drug trafficking arrest. And Jose responded that he had no criminal history. He doesn't know what they're talking about, okay? So then they go on to handcuff him. And so he's arrested, no warrant. And then on the form for Jose's file number, they just have a number. And the signature of the officer arresting to serving Jose with the warrant are written in different colors. So that shows it was done at a later time. Okay. And that's part of the problem with a lot of these warrants that are coming out is they're either doing them right there or they don't have them and they wait till they get back to the office and then write out a warrant. And that's not the way the law works. You're supposed to have a warrant. These people are supposed to, you know, you have to have the due process. And so that's the problem that we're seeing here. I'm not for, I'm all for if someone's a really bad person, yes, get them deported. They need to get out of here. We don't want to see criminals that are coming into the country for evil purposes. But the statistics actually on immigrants committing crimes is not as big as, the people that actually are citizens that commit crimes here. So, Krista says hi to Doc and the kitties.
Hello.
So the next guy we're going to talk about is Abel Ortego. And we got a picture here of him. He's 47 years old, and he's in Illinois also, in Lyons, Illinois. And he's lived in the same house for 15 years. I did not put the faces of his children out there because I didn't feel that's right. He's the gentleman in the baseball cap. His two sons, or I think he has 3 sons and a daughter, but we're not putting their faces out there. But his wife did speak for him, so we put her there. So ICE arrested him as he was coming back from buying food for his family. He'd gone out to get some tamales for the family. And one of his younger sons saw that their dad had been put in a police car. And so he ran toward the car wanting to talk to his dad. They ran his foot over. So they ran a young boy's foot over. I mean, this is the kind of conduct that is going on right now. Okay, therapist, needs some tamales. Can someone get them out there for her? But so now Abel is U.S. citizen, has his children are U.S. citizens. He is not. He was here on a visa. So then as they take him away, Abel ended up having a medical emergency. Okay. And they ended up having to take him to get hospitalized. And when he was finally discharged, then they took him from Illinois all the way over into Indiana. So he's one of the few that they're still holding on to. They have not let him go because they actually were looking for his son, but he was 20 years younger than his dad. So that was a little bit crazy. And his wife is very concerned because actually she's dealing with breast cancer. And so she's worried, because he's still locked up. How's she going to pay for her medical care while her husband's detained and take care of her children? And she said he's a working man. He's a loving and a caring man. He's never been, a criminal, never been arrested. Okay, so these are some of the people that they keep taking in. Now, this couple that's on the screen right now, this couple is from Colombia, and they have been in the country for 35 years. They were in California, and they have, I think it, let's see, what is it? 3 daughters, all U.S. citizens, and then they have a grandson, their first grandson. So after 35 years, they get picked up. They had a business. They did a lot of work for their community. You know, they were really good people. They weren't criminals. See, they keep telling us everybody are gang members, you know, these terrible gang members. So far we've seen some parents, um, you know, and that is my concern, because, you know, if we're not following the laws, you're not getting the correct warrants, you're not giving people due process. You know, this is what's wrong. We have to do it the correct way, because if government officials are able to get away with this, what's going to happen is then they're going to go after other people with the same kind of a frenzy, because they've gotten away with it. So then we all lose our due process. It won't be just these people. I mean, because some of these people were US citizens. Now, this couple has already been taken, and they have been deported back to Colombia. The next one we're gonna talk about is a student from Tufts University. You guys may have seen the video of her. She was she had just celebrated. I think is it Ramadan? Is that how you say it? Ramadan. Thanks, Doc. And so she was getting ready to go meet friends and break her fast. Okay. So she's going to go break her fast. She's coming out of her building. She's got her head down. She's got her phone in her hand. And we're actually going to watch a video. She has a visa. She's a Turkish national, and she's here earning her degree in child study and human development. A valid F1 student visa means she's not planning on staying. She's here for an education. Okay? That's all she's here for. But let's watch the video and see what happens. Now, a neighbor is filming this. Hey, Capri Law. Good to see you, sweetie. Okay, so from the video, you can see they showed up in unmarked cars. They were in dark clothing with nothing showing, saying who they were. This man, a couple of men approach her, grab her. You know, she's scared. She's trying to back away. She doesn't know who these people are. Even the neighbor is yelling out. You know, and I'm sure he's scared too, because how on earth can you not be scared when, and you know, it's still daylight and these men are grabbing this woman, you know? So, you know, they don't want no part of this, but he wants to film it so that so I mean, it's a good thing he did get it filmed. But her attorney said they didn't even know where she was. This was up in Boston. And so when they finally found out where she was, they had taken her to Louisiana. Why would you take her all the way to Louisiana? And a federal judge had actually put out an order claiming that they were not to take her out of Massachusetts, but they transferred her to Louisiana. Hey, Aaron, Moo's around here somewhere. So, you know, here, and this poor girl, the reason they took her, they said that number one is that they, you know, a visa is a privilege. They can take it away at any time, and that is true. But what she had done was a year ago, she had, with a group of people, written a paper talking about the genocide of the Palestinian people. You know, she's not with Hamas. She doesn't support them. She was talking about that we need to take care of everybody. You know, everybody has a right, you know, to have a good life. And she, you know, there are women and children that were dying in Gaza. And so she had co-wrote this paper. And so now they went after her, took her, scared her, and then shipped her off to Louisiana. You know, and that's scary. This is scary because, you know, who next? And that's really the question. Here's another case that we got. This is the lawyer of a young man, and she only gives his name as Andre because, you know, she's scared for his life. He was supposed to go to for his asylum hearing the day after he disappeared, and he never showed up. They finally found out he had been taken to El Salvador. He came to the country and had been here, I think, for over a year. He was a makeup artist. He was gay. And that's why he had left Venezuela, because his life was in danger. You know? And so he, you know, they tried to say, well, he had tattoos. Okay, but they weren't gang tattoos. He had a snake on his wrist. He had tattoos like most Americans do. I mean, are they going to be arresting, you know, Travis Barker from Blink 182 next? He's got more tattoos than this poor kid did. What about Dave Navarro? You know, a lot of musicians have a lot of tattoos. This kid had a couple of tattoos, and he looks like just a nice young man. You know, he had a career. He went to his hearings. He checked in all the time. And instead, they scooped him up, and they've said that he is a gang member. Yeah, he looks really dangerous with those makeup brushes. I could have used him tonight. Hey, Squeege of Justice, good to see ya. But so he actually did get taken to he got taken to El Salvador. And that's, they're really worried about him because they don't know what's going to happen to him. And that's one of the things people don't realize is how dangerous this prison is down in El Salvador. It's known to have a lot of deaths. They torture people. He's not from El Salvador. So basically, when we stop and really think about it, these people were kidnapped. They were taken, they were held, and then sent to another country that they don't belong to and put in a prison or a concentration camp is what they're calling it. But this is a scary place. And no one should have to be in that place because the president of the country, he calls himself a cool dictator. I mean, good to know he gave himself a nice title. And people don't stop to think he's being paid to keep these people. He's getting, I think they said, was it $6 million to hold these people. Now, I did find out that there were, let me see. Got to find my paperwork here because I did have the statistics here. I think they had 238 people on the plane. 8 of them were women. They sent them back because at first they were really concerned because nobody knew where the women were, but El Salvador wouldn't take them. They refused. They also would not take the man from the country of Nicaragua because they said that they weren't going to start trouble with him, with Nicaragua. Why they want to start trouble with Venezuela, I don't know. Because the thing is, Venezuela actually took a plane of their own people just recently. I mean, just a couple of days ago. So why they didn't just send these people home, it makes no sense. Instead, they're kidnapping them and they're sending them to a country that they don't belong in. They won't release any information. The judge that actually had sent an order telling them that they could not, take these people out of the country without due process. He said if the planes had taken off, you need to turn them around. And they're trying to say, well, we don't know anything about that. And so the thing was, they went from Texas, they shipped them out of Texas, and they went to Honduras, and they sat on the ground for a bit. Then they went to El Salvador, so they could have brought them back. But now that they're in El Salvador, the next day there was an article, I think it was in, I can't remember what paper it was in, but there was an article that showed the paper and, about that the judge was saying these people need to be returned. And so the president of El Salvador copied it, put it out on Twitter, and just put, oopsie. I mean, that's low. Oh, okay. So Sarah, your sister was in Nicaragua, and it was dangerous, and she left. She left all of her family to try to build a life here and get her whole family here legally. Yeah. Well, most of these countries are, these people wouldn't even try to come to the United States if they had a chance in their own countries. They're dangerous places, And it's sad, I know they can't take everybody, and that's normal. They can't. The United States can't hold everybody. But there has to be something, you know, they have to be able to help some people. And what they're doing to people right now by just kidnapping them, no, it's not right. But now we're going to talk about another story, and this one will probably blow you away. It really did me, because this is the story of, let me see. I want to make sure I get her name. Let me find that piece of paper I had. Her name's Jasmine Mooney. She's an actress from Canada. And she was in American Pie. And she had a work visa. And so in March, she needed to get her visa redone. Okay. So they acknowledged that she was detained on March 3rd. She had gone down by San Diego because she was staying in LA at the time, reapplying for that work visa. And she had no warning about what was going to happen, but ICE took her, And once they took her to a detention center. And like she said, they didn't give her any warning. They just, they said that there was a problem with her visa. And so she was actually on her phone. She was going to, book her flight and go home. Because it was like, okay, if you're having a problem with this, we'll go, fine. I won't cause a problem. But they were like, no. And so they took her and they put chains on her. They chained her hands. They chained her way. I mean, they treated her like she was, a terrorist. They took her to a detainment center. And once she got to the detainment center, she said for 2 days she was there at that one. And she said there was barely a mat for her to lay on. Everybody had those, if you've seen those foil like blankets, she said when she walked into the cell, she said it just looked like dead bodies because there were women all wrapped up in these foil blankets. And so she was in shock, because she couldn't believe this because nobody would tell her anything. She didn't understand why she was. The only thing they told her was she didn't have the proper letterhead, was one thing. Why don't you have the proper letterhead on your application? She never got to see a judge, never got to talk to an attorney. I mean, she's from Canada, okay? She's not from, a country that perhaps people would think, hey, we got a terrorist here. She's not throwing maple syrup at anybody. She was just going to reapply for her, work visa. And so after that detainment center, then they sent her to another one. And she said, no explanation, no warning. They were on the bus, for like 24 hours. And she said she was so tired. They gave her one styrofoam cup for water. She got one plastic spoon that we had to reuse for every meal. She said, I eventually had to start eating because at first she just couldn't eat because the food was disgusting. She said, but she knew she was going to get sick. She lost a lot of weight and it doesn't look like she has a lot of weight to lose. And so they gave her a prison uniform because they keep saying these detainment centers aren't prison, but they're treating her like a prisoner. She said none of the uniforms fit. Everyone had men's shoes on. The towels they gave us to shower were hand towels. Hand towels. She said they wouldn't give us more blankets. The Doc, say it for me. Light. Fluorescent lights. They never turned off. So those are going constantly. You know, so I don't know about you, but that would be hard to sleep if you have the lights on. She said, you know, at first nobody in the cell talked English. Eventually, they took her to another detainment center because she was moved like 3 times. And then she started talking to these girls and the women, and they all had different stories. She said there was another Canadian woman there, and she said none of them should have been there. One girl had said she had been there for months, and that was what one of the men had, one of the guards had told her, you know, prepare yourself. You know, I mean, because he goes, I don't know your case. You know, that was his reasoning. I don't know your case, so I don't know how long you're going to be here, but, you know, be prepared. You know. And she said now that she's had time to consider it, she did get word out to a friend who actually really got the media involved. And because she was an actress and was somewhat well known, I think that's the reason she got out. You know, now she's back home in Canada. And I think she said she had a 5-year suspension. She can't come back to to the United States for 5 years. She said it was the most horrendous experience, and she wants to speak out for the women that are still there. That they're not seeing judges. They're not getting lawyers. Nobody's telling anybody anything. You just get locked up. And that's the thing with these detention centers. There's a couple of big companies that have these detention centers, and they make money off of how many people they have in these detention centers. So it's all a money-making deal. And that, she said that's really what she feels like it all boiled down to, is that it was all about the money. Because she was with them for 12 days. They kept her for 12 days. You know? And this is what they're doing to people that are not a threat. She was not a terrorist. It's scary because, you know, who's going to be next? I mean, that is my question. Who is next? Because we have the amendments that say people get due process. Even people that aren't here legally get due process. It's in the Constitution. This is a picture of her and her friend who really, Brittany got the word out and made a ruckus. And thank goodness. But she said, what about the women that I left behind? That nobody is here to make a ruckus for them. And that's really, it's horrible. And what all these people are going through, the trauma. I mean, I feel for this young Turkish girl, the student, because can you imagine being grabbed by men that you have no idea who they are in dark clothing? I mean, it's terrifying. But yeah, that's Jasmine's case. There was a German tourist that got detained by ICE. She was a tattoo artist, and she was here visiting a friend. And she got stuck here in the detention centers. I think it was close to a month, you know, before she was able to get home. I mean, they're picking up everybody, and that's the scary thing. They picked up a young girl from the UK who was on a walking tour, and she had tried to get into Canada, but something with her paperwork, they said, no, we can't let you into Canada, because they were afraid she was going, which happens a lot in Canada. People will try and go into Canada and work when they don't have, all the paperwork to work, and that's logical. Hey, Ken Rosenberg, how are you, darling? Good to see you. Thank you for coming. So, I mean, that makes sense. So when she turned around to go back to the United States side, they arrested her. Her father was devastated. It took almost a month for her to get home, because they kept her, you know. I mean, and she was here on a walking tour. And so that was, ridiculous. And let's see. Yeah. And let me see who we got next. Oh yeah, let's get to El Salvador. The mega prison. CCOT. The Center for Terrorism and Confinement. It's the worst of the worst. I mean, it makes you ill. Just the other day, Christy Nome went down there to take a tour. And I don't know if I didn't put the pictures up. I should have given them to Doc, but I forgot. It was like she was at the zoo watching animals. It was really disgusting. I couldn't even hardly handle it myself, because it was like, and I wouldn't believe a word she says about the people down that they sent down there, because of the fact that she's a puppy killer. She shot her own puppy. So puppy killers get no sympathy for me. But yeah, this prison, they really treat people so horrendous. They're mostly kept in the cell. They barely let them out for 30 minutes a day. The first thing they do is they shave their heads and then put them in like these white shorts, and they're given a white shirt. And if you think about it, this is what happened in Nazi Germany. Is the first thing they did was shave everybody's head, women or male. Thank goodness the 8 women that got sent down there, he sent them back. He said, I won't take them, because who knows what would have happened to them. But the cells are overcrowded, and the only time they get to see a judge, they'll do it by a feed. And they said usually it'll be maybe like 200 to 300 prisoners at one time are there as you're getting the feed. But they have said that none of these men will ever be released, because they're all gang members. But as we're hearing, there's a lot of the ones that were sent down there that weren't. The administration has decided that they're going to throw this under the Secrets Act. So they told Judge Boberg, I think is his name. He was the one that told them that they could not take them out of the country, which they did. But he said that now they're telling him they can't tell him anything because of the Secrets Act. And it's like, what secret? We've all seen you do this. Okay, Squeege, what's your question? Do you see this happening around the world generically or in specific regions? Actually, it's happening. I think it's happening more and more in different countries. Even it's kind of, sadly, it's a situation where the United States used to kind of stand for, we have to be behave ourselves, or we're going to get in trouble. But now that the United States has kind of lost their minds and decided, they're not going to do anything, other countries are now kicking people out. I was listening to a feed tonight where they were talking about in several countries, like I think Greece was one, that some of the boat people that have come to Greece, before they even reach the shore, they're turning them around and just set. So these people could be dying. They don't care. They say we just can't take them. And so it is sad, and I know everybody says, well, what can we do? Let's see. Oh, Aaron, what has happened to Jose Ibarra? He's in prison for life here in the United States. I'm surprised they didn't send him. But the truth is, I think that the administration thinks they're still going to delete him, because they were upset that he was not given, the option to delete him. In fact, after the new administration came in, they wanted that he told the AG, Pan Bondi, to find a reason to delete him. And anybody that the former administration had pardoned a bunch of federal, criminals that were on death row, he said for her to search for some state charges that they could try them on again and perhaps go ahead and delete them on state charges instead of federally, since they were pardoned for the state or for the federal offenses. So that's kind of where we are. Okay, let's see. Ken says the context, the first case saying non-residents have certain constitutional rights was Wong Wing versus the U.S., was decided in 1896, 130 years ago. Thank you, Ken. Because even when we had the terrorists, after 9/11, the ones that were captured either before or after, they did have a due process. So that's what's really blowing my mind. Let's see, the squeege of justice. Do you feel the U.S. is going in a more isolated area, meaning the U.S. is going to pull back international resources and focus on internal issues? I think that they are isolating themselves because right now, in the national arena, if you watch the news, they have no friends. The only friends they have are Russia and maybe North Korea. China is laughing at them. Actually, Russia's laughing at them. So it's scary. I know they say there has to be a way. We have to take care of the people here in the United States, and that is a logical point. But there's ways to do it, and by doing this to other people who are not criminals, who've come here out of fear. Even Native Americans have been picked on by ICE. Some have been picked up. ICE has laughed at them and told them they don't belong here. And I'm sorry, if you want to get technical, anybody do your genealogy? Tell me how far back you can go in the United States. Because you talk to any Native American, they go way back. They belong here. It's kind of the situation where you have no one's illegal on stolen land. And it is stolen land. And that's something to think about. And I truthfully fear that eventually they will go after the native and indigenous people because quite a few of the reservations are on land that I think could be used for his drilling, wood, lumber. And I think those are the things we're going to start seeing, is them going out after the native nations. One of the biggest problems with the native nations right now in the United States is there are some of them, I don't know how many. I know I've been talking with one out in Redding, California, who belongs to the Wintu tribe. It's Wintu, Wintu. And Cam Foreman, his father is the one that really, he was the chairman. He helped set up this reservation. He actually got the medical facilities going for the tribe. And they ended up kicking the entire family, disenrolling them from the tribe. They did this on the basis of an elder in the tribe that was an older woman who was ill, that said that, I guess, Cam's grandfather or something did not come from the line that they said they came from. So they were told they had to dig up their relatives, which they did, which broke their heart because that's something you don't do. And they did the DNA, which proved who they were and that they were native, and they didn't care. The reason they didn't care is because with a bunch of these, sadly, some of the tribes, it comes down to money. With the casino money, you have to share. Anybody in the tribe of a certain blood level, you know, they get a share of the money, okay? And so ones that decided that they were going to take over and didn't want to share with other members of the tribe started disenrolling them. And it's happening in, I think, Washington State. It breaks my heart. I mean, recently there was a case in Reno, Nevada, where a 73-year-old elder of the tribe, I think it was the Paiute tribe, I'm not sure, don't hold me to that, and his, I think, 6-year-old granddaughter were kicked out of their home. And the reason they were kicked out was because he hadn't got all of the, well, I guess the you know, keeping the place up, okay? In the last few years, his daughter had been killed in a car accident. That's why he had custody of his granddaughter. And then a few years after that, his wife and his youngest son, who was, I think, 12 at the time, were killed in a car accident. He's 73. He's been through trauma. And instead of the chairman of the tribe and the housing authority of the tribe helping him, standing up for him, they just wanted him out of the house. He hadn't even touched his son's room. It was exactly how his boy had left it. And he was standing there, and it was so cute. He was wearing a Luigi game shirt because that was his son's favorite video game. He goes, I wouldn't wear this otherwise, but here is this lovely 73-year-old elder with the Luigi game shirt because of his son. And now he has to, you know, find a place for him and his daughter. So those are the things that are happening. And as they disenroll members, all they're going to do is hurt themselves, because that's going to give the administration more of a chance to come in and say, okay, you know, your tribe's getting smaller. We want the land. These are people that thrive thrive on being a tribe. You count on each other. I mean, we can see with the Emily Pike case where the 14-year-old Apache girl was deleted horribly. We see that there were tribes in Alaska that did dances and songs and had memorials for her. South Dakota, the Lakota people, I think the Cherokee people, they came together, and yet they're turning on each other. And for what? A lot of this that we're talking about tonight, because these detainment centers are based on greed. I was looking at the history of the detainment centers. I think it's the one that's owned by GEO. And the gentleman that used to own it talked about how he got into the business way back when. He died in 2021 at 86. He was horrid. I'm sorry. Allegedly, he was horrid in my book. Because he was, when his wife was out of town, he would call and get women from the prison sent to his place. He tortured people. He was cruel. And I mean, all the different tortures that they put these people through. And this is what these detainment centers are built on, this private prison system that's all based on having enough people so you can get enough money from the government. See, everybody thinks, oh, we're going to get so much money, and everything's going to work out. Are we? Because they're spending over $6 million to El Salvador to keep these people. It costs over, I think, $7,000 or more to transfer someone like the young lady from Turkey that was living in Boston. They sent her to Louisiana. So that's going to take $7,000 or more, transferring her around the country. Now, the reason they're transferring people around is because of money. So it's all a money game. And it's actually the detainment centers. This is a good one for you guys. Pam Bondi actually was one of the people that was a lobbyist for them for detention centers. And now she's the AG of the US. I mean, talk about incestuous. Night, Jess, get some sleep, and I hope your ankle's doing better, sweetheart. But yeah, these are the things that are going on. So it's not so much the political aspect of what's going on, but it's the laws that they're not keeping. It's the amendments they're not following. It's the due process. These people have rights. Let's see. Capri says, on a good note, are Apache, Hopi, and Navajo youth are seeing so much unification right now in Arizona. Because of Emily Pike's case. Yes. But let's hope they can keep that going. And that's something we always have to remember. No more stolen sisters. Say her name, Emily Pike. We can't forget her. But we have to realize that this is a country of laws. We don't have a king. The reason the laws were set up was they left the king behind. They didn't want King George having a say over here. So they got rid of him and got some laws going. Okay? And that's what we have to remember. And another thing that affects us as true crime people and trial junkies is they're pulling off federal detectives and employees from the cases of children that are being trafficked. They're also, not following the child abuse cases like they should, because they're all putting them on the immigration issue. And this is what's scary. So let's think about that. These are the cases that we're going to start see slipping. And these are the cases that we can't let slip. We have to get out there and say, children are the innocent victims. They are the most vulnerable of all of us. I think it was Idaho just passed a very strong thing on child people that are SAing children. That's actually putting them up for the big DP. So that'll be interesting. But those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight. Normally not my regular thing. I normally like to talk about missing women and children, the Native communities. Let's see, Capri Law. Alaskan tribes through Canada are joining. Search the hashtags and sign the petition. Say her name. Missing Indigenous. Yes. I am working on a big case up in Canada. They have discovered the names and found a couple of the bodies of some First Nation women. So we'll talk about that on Thursday probably. Or no, Sunday. I'm sorry. Forgot what day it was. But yeah, Sunday we'll talk about that. Because that's a big case for the First Nation. They finally got a premier, or I think that's what they call. Christy, you'd have to help me with that. If they call it a premier of the Providence, that is actually, I think, a Native or a First Nation. And so he said that he would find these girls, and he's found 2 of them, because unfortunately they had been put in a landfill. And he said, we will find them. And now, they still have one missing, but they did identify her. Because they had a serial killer. So they were able to identify her, and she got her name back. And it was a beautiful explanation they had on YouTube, where they explained how they gave her a name, because where she was located, it wasn't where her tribe was, but the tribe there adopted her. And so they gave her the name Buffalo Girl until they were able to give her name back. And they explained how that came about. But one of the elders got up and explained how they did that. And it was beautiful. It was really an awesome story to listen to. And so that's what we have to do, because no one can be left behind. And that's why I worry about a lot of these people that are being sent to El Salvador. Tonight, the administration had sent the appeal because they didn't like the first judge's answer. And of the 3, it was 2-1. Of course, 1 dissented, but the other 2 voted that they could not send any more people, because they were going to start sending more people to El Salvador. So this is, you're right, Capri Law. It's humanity, and that's what we have to talk about, is the humanity of people. Because I don't talk politics here. It makes people nuts. Thanks, Ken, for coming. I really appreciate it. And I'll probably see you guys all and trial TV tomorrow because I should be there. The stress of tonight is over. I've been working all day. Where's Moo Doc? Have you seen the Moo? She's in her bed. Come on, Moo Moo. Moo. Let's see if I can get her to come up. I have the treats. I'm the treat junkie. What can I say? Moo, want treats? Come on. I got an extra camera. We got to figure out how we can put it down there. Because she has a bed right underneath my desk. And she likes to go down there and sleep when she's being good. Yeah, Doc's gonna work it out. He's my IT guy. The squeege of justice has Aaron, and I got Doc. Yes, Moo is rebelling. She's a naughty girl. What can I tell you? I hope I was able to give you guys some information on what's going on. I think a lot of us really feel for all these people. I do. It breaks my heart that people could be enduring such horrid conditions. And I don't think the administration realizes that if something happens to any of these people, they're responsible. Because there have been a lot of deaths down at Seco, where they've sent these people. I think they said over 200 at least since they opened that facility. Because when you pack people into a huge cell, you give them no mattress, no blankets, no pillow. Eventually, people lose their minds. One thing they like to do is if they're punishing people, they put them in a cell in the dark. It's usually full of people. They said prisoners have had to try and stand up to sleep. So these are inhumane conditions. They don't allow anybody to come in and look at the conditions, to get a tour, like Noam, the puppy killer, got. And it's not allegedly, because she admitted to doing that to that puppy. So we know that they put on a show. She put on a show for that. They put, they were showing her, it made me ill. They had prisoners out of the cell, which they normally don't allow them. And they had them lined up in a wall. They're in white shorts so that she could look at their tattoos. We don't know if those are the ones that were sent down there. One of the women that got sent back to the U.S., she made the comment that she heard them trying to get people, the men, to sign forms, I guess claiming they were they didn't want to. There was an experience of one man who said that, he was terribly beaten because he wouldn't sign the forms. And this wasn't from the group from Venezuela, but just a prisoner. And when the guards were done with him, they threw him in a cell where other prisoners continued to beat on him, and harmed him desperately. Eventually, they actually did let him out because he was not a gang member, but he still has health issues to this day. So these are the things that these people that have been shipped off are going to face. And I don't think anyone with an ounce of humanity can look at this and say, hey, no problem. This is, just the way it should be because we don't want them here. We might not want them here, but they don't deserve to be sent to a country that's not their country. And the thing you have to ask, I didn't even cover two of the cases where one gentleman was from Germany and he has a fiance in Las Vegas, and he got kept when him and his fiance had gone from Las Vegas over the border to Tijuana because her dog needed surgery and it was expensive. And down there, the veterinarians don't charge as much. And so when they were coming back, they held him, and they held him for weeks. When he finally was able, I mean, and these people have all offered to like deport themselves, but they hold them because they want the money. But when they were done with him, he called her in a panic saying, "Can you get down here and get me the money? They're going to let me leave. I got to go now. I need the money for a flight." And his name was Lucas. Or no, that was Fabian. I'm sorry. I think Lucas was the one that was at the Logan airport that got picked up, and he talked about how they tortured him. I mean, they had him strip and they threw him in a cold shower. This is happening in the US. This is ridiculous. What's going to happen if, let's say, we know how the administration keeps saying they want to take Canada, they want to take Greenland, they want to take Denmark and all these other countries. What happens if they declare war on them? What's going to happen to the Canadian people or the Danish people or those that are living here in the US? Are they going to become prisoners of war? When the Nazis started out, it was just, he was going after one group of people, and it was the Jewish people. But then the groups started getting bigger. Anybody that he didn't like got put in that group. Any black person, Jehovah's Witnesses, people that went against him. So it widened out. Gay people. So what's going to happen here if they decide? Okay, a good question from the Squeege. It says, do you know if detainees can afford counsel or public defense? They don't get an option to have them. That's the problem. They're not given the actress from Canada, she never got to see a judge. She never got to see an attorney. It wasn't an option. So they hold these people in isolation and away from people. And when you're in these detainment centers, they rule everything. If they don't want you to see people, you don't see people. They try and they keep saying, well, they're not prisons. No, they're worse than prisons. And that's really what's happening. So it's really and the thing is, what's going to happen, because so far anything that the administration has done, thinking that, oh, nobody will oppose us, these other countries are like, no, you're not going to do that. So what's going to happen if we decide to go up to Canada? Will we eventually be looked upon as enemy combatants? If we want to go to Greenland, it's something to think about, because you can't keep threatening people and figure that they're going to be okay. So let's, the best we can do is get the word out and just say, hey, we want to see justice for people, because that's why we watch trials. That's why we watch true crime. We watch the crime, and then we want to watch the trial, because we want to see justice for the victim and their families. And that's what it's about. We want justice. Well, these people deserve some justice too. So that's what we've talked about tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me see if I can get Moo. Come here, little Moo Moo. Oh, she's out. I promise we'll get her next time. We'll get her early. She's not getting up. Yeah, she's being a little brat. I should have given her penguin. She's got toys in here. But anyway, thank you guys for coming. If anybody has a case that they're in or they want me to look into something, check my email out. It's trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. I will be glad to look into it. Like I said, I love to look into the missing women and children. I want to see justice done for them. Natives, First Nation, and Indigenous people are close to my heart. Anybody that harms a child, I have a whole file of those hideous chomos. So we'll get to those cases. But thank you guys. I appreciate all that you've done by showing up for me tonight. I love y'all, and we'll see you. So have a good night. Thanks for sharing some time with me. See a bunch of you tomorrow in the chat. Night, everybody.